Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. So first up today, there still seems to be some misunderstanding around what's going on with the Model S and X right now. And of course, articles like this from the wonderful Dana Hall don't really help. Point number one, we already talked about it just in case you missed it. This recent dip after Q1 when it comes to the deliveries relative to production, some of that can be explained by Tesla now having to export the Model S and X to global destinations. Simply put, there are vehicles in transport that were produced but weren't yet delivered. Let's rewind time back to Q3 of 2019 before the Model 3 and Y really hit scale. Elon said, the S and X are really niche. They're really niche products. They're very expensive, made in low volume. To be frank, we're continuing to make them more for sentimental reasons than anything else. They're really of minor importance to the future. Personally, I think it's way too early to say that Tesla has an inventory problem with the Model S or X. There are a lot of things going on, again, that we've talked about. The point is, no matter what happens with it going forward, it's not going to have that big of an impact on Tesla's business model. I'd also add Tesla can still drop prices on the S and X further and still make a decent margin going forward if they need to. The way I see it, this is a very misleading headline. You know I like highlighting other creators, so let's take a quick look at this chart from Roland. Pause if you want, just want to highlight one thing. Q1 so far this year, this green bar is already ahead of where Tesla was through Q1 and Q2 last year. We got this article from Bloomberg talking about how Tesla's been helping Australia to get off of fossil fuels, many things we've already talked about, but have a look at this chart. Here we're talking about battery energy storage and pipelines for different countries. Now, as we go over these numbers, keep in mind Tesla's Lathrop facility dedicated to Megapack has a 40 gigawatt hour capacity annually. China alone has already announced or is planning 306 gigawatt hours, because remember, to go from megawatt hours to gigawatt hours, just divide by 1,000. Australia alone has announced or is planning 102 gigawatt hours, so you would need 2.5 Tesla Lathrop facilities just to meet these planned or announced expansions. And the US clocks in around 54 gigawatt hours, still exceeding Tesla's full capacity when that factory is ramped. This is literally just the beginning, and when you think about the United States, the IRA is really changing the entire industry. Previously, these battery energy storage projects had to be linked to a solar or a wind energy generation project. The IRA has done away with that requirement, so now you can actually have standalone battery projects that are eligible for the IRA credits. And there's actually more than the 30% up for grabs for some of these companies. As you can see, in certain cases, if you meet certain requirements, it can go as high as 70%. The IRA also is making a change to allow these credits to be transferable. So if a smaller company doesn't even have a big enough tax liability to take advantage of the credits, they could essentially transfer them for cash or transfer them to another entity, which will greatly simplify the financing process for these projects. Now, Sawyer tweeted that Tesla lowered the price of the Megapack without installation by around $30,000. And while that may be true in California, I would just point out that depending on what state you choose, you can actually see that the price will change. Here's what I wanted to highlight though. The earliest delivery date for any state is Q1 of 2025. So we're looking at almost a 2-year backlog. In Q4 of last year, Tesla deployed 2,462 megawatt hours of energy storage, which is 2.46 gigawatt hours, and roughly 40% of that would be attributed to the Megapack, leaving the remaining 60% for the Powerwall. Now, how I arrived at that math, I'm going to be sharing on Twitter in a thread here in the next few days. But if you do the math, taking this number times 0.4, that gives you 986 megawatt hours from Q4 that were from the Megapack. Then if we take that number divided by 4 megawatt hours, which is the size of each Tesla Megapack, that's about 246 megapacks being deployed in Q4, so we'll use that as our template going forward. Of course, this number will scale up over the next 7 quarters, but if you multiply that by the 7-quarter backlog Tesla currently has, that's 1,723 megapacks times the average selling price of a Tesla Megapack, And that actually gives us $3.1 billion in a backlog for Tesla. If we assume, let's just call it a 25% margin, that would be $775 million in profit for Tesla that's essentially already lined up. When you combine the Inflation Reduction Act with the Megapack being a class-leading product and all of these utilities right now being in the process of rethinking their business models to actually see how they can adopt these new battery energy systems, the season is primed for a Tesla energy breakout over the next 2 to 3 years. Remember, a thread on this is coming soon. Full BEVs are finally starting to catch on in Australia. In Q1, the sale of EVs overtook hybrids, 17.3 thousand to 16.1 thousand. 1 year ago, hybrids outsold EVs 3 to 1 in Australia. We got some new Kelley Blue Book awards for 2023, and Tesla takes home multiple awards. The best overall luxury brand is Tesla. This is actually now 4 years in a row. Tesla also wins the best value luxury brand, also 4 years in a row. They also win the most refined luxury brand, which is an interesting one. The best performance luxury brand, Tesla, and the best EV brand, Tesla. KBB uses opinions from more than 12,000 in-market new vehicle shoppers who extensively research their vehicle purchase on KBB.com. Tesla now allows people to cast 5 votes every 3-month period where they would want to see a new supercharger location. They just announced the winning results from the winter session. Here they are on the screen. Pause if you'd like, I won't read them. This time around, Tesla decided to throw in another 5 just for fun. If you would like to cast your vote for this next session, I'll make sure that this link is below. You can vote on already proposed locations, or you can suggest a new location altogether. Here it is on the web. You can sort by region and actually look at the leaderboard. Now, yes, I'm sure a lot of people will be voting selfishly just to have more locations closer to where they're at rather than where Tesla really needs them, but it's a cool feature either way. Linked below if you want to cast your vote. Here we have an interesting report from Tesla Mag on the upcoming expansion at Giga Berlin. They say Tesla is planning to switch from just-in-time, which is a manufacturing technique, to a space-intensive warehouse logistics. Simply put, just-in-time manufacturing is all of the supply chain from raw materials to parts, really making them, ordering them, having them on site as close to the actual production and as close to the demand schedule as possible. Whereas a switch to warehouse logistics would just be you can build up parts, you can build up raw materials and have them stored for when you need them, even if it means being a bit less efficient, because then if there are supply chain hiccups or issues, well, guess what? You're not stuck waiting on a supplier. You already have a surplus in the warehouse. This, of course, could be plenty of things. It could be just small parts of the business. It could be for future battery production at Giga Berlin. Maybe they want more raw materials on site, which again would just further insulate them from any future supply chain disruptions. Companies love trying to optimize their working capital, which is what really led to the just-in-time style. But now it sounds like, if this is correct, Tesla may be going from just-in-time to just-in-case. As always, the word is this expansion process is going to be lengthy, plenty of public feedback, potential for lawsuits, but ultimately Tesla is trying to expand production capacity from 500,000 to 1 million per year. Among other things, new warehouses, a new train station, etc. Ford just said that 4 of its 6 EVs or hybrids that were getting the IRA tax credit are going to be halved on April 18th. Leaving only the F-150 Lightning and the Lincoln Aviator Grand Touring to be eligible for the full credit. Ford has also added Tesla superchargers with the Magic Dock to its trip planner tool, but so far only on mobile. Here you see it in this image from the Ford UI. If you scroll down a bit, you can see a Tesla Magic Dock charger showing up. Ford's product development chief just said that they're planning dramatic reductions in the complexity of its product lineup, starting with the 2024 model years. However, at the same time, they're still planning to develop more variations of certain model lines like the Bronco SUV, because they offer 30% or greater profit margins compared to the base model. Definitely not an altruistic motivation, but at the same time, Ford needs money for how much it's losing on EVs right now. And here we have the upcoming Ram 1500 REV, but they are calling this a concept vehicle, so color me very skeptical with all of these upcoming numbers. because right now we have no idea in terms of pricing or availability timeline. Either way, the battery pack is said to come in two sizes, 168 kilowatt hours or 229 kilowatt hours, with the larger pack claiming up to 500 miles of range and the smaller size up to 350. It will use an 800 volt system and offer bi-directional charging. Only one powertrain is said to be available, a standard all-wheel drive. It is, however, supposed to come with an air suspension and be able to pull up to 14,000 pounds or hold up to 2,700 pounds. They talk about a lot of really cool features, but will they actually be able to pull this off? It's almost like they're just trying to Osborne Cybertruck sales. I plan to upload a video tomorrow, but then no video on Friday for Good Friday. You can find me on Twitter at DylanLoomis22. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.